fellas, back here on the Bossman Show. Here with Coach Johnny Jones, coach of Texas Southern Tigers out of SWAC in Houston, Texas. Coach Jones, good to catch up with you again. How are things going with you and your family, Coach?
Hey, it's been good. It's been a long time, 6 months or so, shutting down since March, and going through the quarantine. But we've been very blessed and fortunate that we've been healthy, and nothing has happened, and we've been fortunate to get through it. But we've been extremely blessed and very thankful that things have gone really well so far for us. And fortunate today is Friday, and we were able to get back in the office, I think, for a little bit on Monday and Tuesday, and able to be with our team for the first time on Wednesday of this week for the first time since March. So hopefully things are making some progress, but it's been a long time coming.
Now, Coach, it was March 11th was my birthday when everything for me changed because, the house with the Hawks and, playing the Knicks that night, and I got a text saying we're suspended. And I was probably the only way to Birmingham for the SWAC tournament. So how was it for your team to go from a conference tournament, maybe trying to get to the NCAA tournament, maybe, or even play the postseason somewhere? Then the virus comes, you're back home, spring break hits, going from on campus to virtual. How was that whole process for you and your team during that tough period in March there?
I'll tell you, I've been coaching for 30-something plus years and been blessed to be, in the head coach position for nearly 20. And I could say it was probably one of the most difficult times that I've experienced as a head coach with the team. One, because we didn't have any control over the situation. It wasn't like we were in a game and somebody hit a last-second shot or just something crazy that wind up happening in the game. That wasn't the case. So it was the tough part for us is that you get that call. We felt like we were playing extremely well. We felt like we were finally healthy for the conference tournament, and our guys were excited about, hopefully the opportunity that was in front of them. So we were sitting there in Birmingham and actually up that morning getting ready for practice and getting ready to go to the gym and get a phone call, and was on the phone with their athletic director and a commissioner. And they notified us that there was some movement. And I'd already gotten wind that the NBA was kind of in a little bit of a flux, and the SEC was some things were going on there. And I was thinking that this was possibly was going to fall to us as well. But when it did, and when we got that call and to have to walk into that meeting room with those guys to break that news to them, was extremely tough because of, just like everybody else in the country, how they've prepared and gotten ready and looking for that moment, the NCAA tournament, and our seniors that were sitting in that room looking for an opportunity to be on that floor again. This may have been their last game that they obviously had no control over the situation. So it was really difficult. And then we wind up, backing up and getting to the airport and getting back home and shutting it down. And so it was tough. And obviously when you care about these guys and what's going on around them, and you're used to being around them, and you're used to the season ending some kind of way where you have a chance to end it on certain terms of feeling and touching them and explaining what has happened and what we got transitioned to. This season ended so abruptly that we had no control. So it was tough, but, we live and learn, and this was an experience that we've gone through, and hopefully we will grow stronger from it, including the guys that were seniors that had a tremendous experience and an impact on our program. Hopefully they will grow from that situation as well.
And Coach, like you said, 2020 has been a year of learning for a lot of people. I'm 33 years old, and I'm a little older than your players are, but it's like, having to adapt and adjust to the reality of the world, how the world can hit you in such a way that it changes your whole way of doing things in your new normal. So for young men to be able to learn this at a younger age than myself, who had changed my life, of course, in my 30s, but these young men we change for the rest of our lives because 2020 taught them a lesson for life that you can control what you can control. You have to be prepared for whatever life throws your directions. I feel like it's a great life lesson, also a lesson in basketball sports as well, but also in life going forward all the way, Coach.
Yeah, you certainly got to embrace it, and we talk to them all the time, and we're training and we're doing all these things, and you talk about if we do X, Y, and Z, we let the rest take care of itself as long as we prepare ourselves and get ready. And when you go through all those challenges and you do all those things and that opportunity is not presented to you, it's almost like it's snatched away from you. It's difficult because it's hard to answer, at the end of the day. And there's some things that, again, things that you have control over, you try to master those. And these guys had understood, you have setbacks throughout your life. And then how you deal with those is how you have an opportunity to move forward. And then a lot of times setbacks are set up for a comeback. And in this situation, there was nothing. We were hoping that we would get back home and in a few days or weeks, a week or so, that something would come up and they would say, okay, we're going to resume the tournament. And that never happened. And when you get that call that they're going to shut it down and the basketball season is over, just a lot is it was draining for you. But I truly believe that early on they knew, not the basketball coaches, not maybe the athletic directors and the commissioners that's running the league or the NCAA, but there were people higher in authority that knew how bad the situation was, but didn't come out and say it to the point that you shut everything down right then. I thought that they did a decent, I guess they gave us some small doses of everything because they felt like if they gave us the whole dose and told us everything that they weren't sure how we would react. So I guess the small doses gave guys a little bit of hope and let them down gradually instead of just hitting them in the head all of a sudden and saying, hey, it's over. And that's it. And how do you deal with it? So it gave them hope. We got back to our respective places, around people, talking to other folks, and I think we were gradually let down.
Well, definitely. And Coach, I know that the role of an academic advisor was big for you guys, making sure the kids kept their grades up, the young men got the academics done, because going from in class, in person, on campus to being virtual to your own devices. I know you can check it on Blackboard what they're doing, but when a young man's to himself about to constantly have to go run a lap or do something for punishments in class, they might take a step back. So how did you guys keep your young men engaged in the classroom with academic advisors so they can keep their grades up and keep the team GPA up for the spring semester there?
I'll tell you what, tremendous question. And we've been blessed, fortunate over the years. Each year, I would take 3 to 4 of my players and assign one of the basketball coaches to them. And he's not just the basketball coach to them. He becomes their kind of the life coach and the academic coach and all those things as well, not just, and that's removed from the basketball side of it. So I want to make sure that coach is in this guy's life. And we got to know who he is as a person, about their family. If somebody's sick in their family, we've got to really dig into him. So we're not just sitting there and massaging the athlete that he is. We've got to make sure that we do that in terms of the person, in terms of preparing and getting them ready for their future. And with that, each coach is responsible for 3 to 4 guys, and they've got to really be into their life. And these guys have done a superior job of taking ownership of their 3 to 4 guys they're responsible for. So they've got to know about the academics. They've got to know when they have tests coming up. They've got to know when they have quiz coming up. They've got to know the results of their test. So if a kid wind up getting an A on a test, have done extremely well, that coach needs to come to me prior to practice and tell me, hey, such made a A or a B on his test yesterday. It was extremely tough, and I need to be able to pat him on the back, and he need to understand that I know that he's done extremely well, and then I may, congratulations on that econ test, whatever. Heard you aced it, proud of you. And if somebody had a setback and hadn't done as well, and they need to tutor, and we need to be on the top of it and ahead of it. So if they come to me and, hey, such didn't do so well on test, now I can pull that guy to the side, ask me, hey, what's going on? Heard you didn't do well on your test. We got to get you some tutoring. So they'll know that we connected with them, and it's more about basketball. So our academic advisor did a tremendous job with our guys, stand on top of them, making sure that they were on top of everything, but along with our coaches as well. So we have what we feel like is a safety net around our guys, and if that we make it extremely hard for them to fail because we're there, try to be there every step of the way with them. And with that, we probably had the best semester, probably maybe I'd almost say almost in the history of the program with a high GPA. I think we wound up finishing with a 3.4 GPA overall with their team, and the guys were excited about it, and I was extremely focused, and I had to commend them for the great job that they had done throughout this pandemic.
And Coach, I know you probably didn't care about how to keep guys in shape as much, but we want to be safe. So how does your strength coach and you guys kind of map out for guys who might not have a hoop available back at home, or to get them out there running a little bit so they're not so far out of shape when you get them back here on campus? Now we had to start from scratch. So how is that process to kind of keep the young men quasi in shape in the midst of the pandemic, knowing that some of them can't get some hoops and get out the way they want to get themselves in that basketball ground again once they get back on campus?
Well, some guys are self-starters and kind of self-motivated. That's just kind of what they do, and it's kind of a part of their nature. But to think that you've got 15 or 16 guys like that on your team, I think, sometimes it doesn't just happen that way. And are they really going to push themselves like we would if we were in practice every day, or are they just doing enough to really break a sweat and feel like they've accomplished something to say, okay, I got my work in that day, and now on to the video games or wherever that day. So we feel like, when we got back, we could tell we had some guys that obviously have been running. And one of the things is on our Zoom calls with their team, we tried to encourage them about working out and understanding when we come back, we've got to obviously do the conditioning, but we want to make sure that you're not totally broken down. So, but for the most part, I thought we were in a good place. But our strength conditioning coach spoke with each guy, knowing that they couldn't go to a health club or workout center or a gym or anything like that. So what do you have around your house? So he tried to devise a workout plan for each one of the guys that from what materials they may have had around their house, even if it was so much as they backpack, putting books in it and other objects so they can get their squats in being there at home. So it was a series of things like that that they were able to work out with, and that he gave them scenarios that they could do that would try to help them stay toned until they were able to get back. And I was pleased for the most part that some of our guys you could see that was preparing and getting ready for the moment when we were able to get back, and we saw that on Wednesday.
Most definitely. And Coach, how have you trying to stress to your young men about COVID, in that, you have to say no things you want to say yes to, because they know you're a young guy, you want to go out to the movies, to the mall, go on a date, but that could cause a trouble for the team because spread wants the team. So how have you talked to young men about, hey, you have to say no things you want to say yes to, we can be accountable to each other and our team and our community, because one mistake can cause outbreak and hurt everybody and could railroad our season if we don't take the right responsibility and do the right thing and say no to things we want to say yes to, not possibly at risk to get COVID.
Right. And it's extremely important, and even take it further, making sure that you put yourself in a safe zone, that you're not going to be affected, because there are a lot of deaths out there, over 200,000 as we speak today, just in the United States. So that's a big number. And so you can't put yourself in an isolated situation and say that it couldn't be you or anything. So you've got to make sure that you're careful. And if it's not for you, for someone else, your loved one. Some of these kids, around their parents, they're around their grandparents, around their loved ones. And so even when you stand kind of in a confined situation, supposedly quarantined, and stand away from your team, who are you affecting if you're out there living some other type of lifestyle? If you're trying to go out at night and being with friends or whatever, you're not being responsible. And this is not a time to do that. So we would like to see growth and maturity really during this period, that you're not going to affect, and that you're really showing a level of concern about other people. And I think our guys have done that. Unfortunately, we've had some instances even on our team where we've had some guys with loved ones who've suffered from this COVID, and I think several of them know people who didn't make it, and me as well. And doing our Zoom calls, I could tell them about people that I know that may have been in great shape or was considered that way, and unfortunately didn't make it, and have gotten this virus and unfortunately died. So really tried to harp on that with the guys. And then the other thing is putting themselves in a position that we've been off for quite some time, for several months. And the last thing you want to do is come back, you're tested, and they tell you now you've got to stay away 14 more days. How much further you're going to have yourself behind and not being with your teammates, and then bringing that in as well. And at the same time, when we do get back together and everybody's fine, we're trying to get to the games and play. How important it is that you don't miss games or cause your teammates to miss games because of your carelessness. And I think it really shows a sign of guys are trying to take care of themselves and not put themselves in harm's way or their team in harm's way. It shows a sense of discipline and caring as well, to try to put themselves in position to play their games. And no, we're not like the NBA and we're not in a bubble, but can you do your part as well as you can with the means that we have to give us and assure us the opportunity that we're putting our best foot forward to have an opportunity to have a season, to be playing back in games and not putting our teammates or managers, trainers, coaches, or anybody else in harm's way because of our lack of discipline and selfishness to want to try to get out there and do things and just saying, well, it's not going to happen to me. And you just can't do that.
And right here in Atlanta, Georgia State's starting quarterback's out for the year he had COVID. Now he's having a heart issue because the heart muscle enlarged now because of having COVID. His heart swollen. And then a young man in California, 20 years old, died at a college football player. So there's examples of guys that their age that where you might not have any symptoms of like the virus, but it's still doing something to you internally, and it's affecting the heart. And the heart's everything to our bodies, If the heart goes, we go. So I think that example for those your young men is going to be very key to show them, hey, guys your age can get it, and also it's affecting black people more and brown people more than it is other people in the country. So I think there are 3 solid examples for your young men to say, hey, we might want to just chill out and not put ourselves at risk, because it can happen to us if we're not careful.
And that's the thing is just let them know that it can really hit home, and you don't have to wait until it's on your front porch to try to address it. You've got to sit from afar, and it's just like today. And obviously at the beginning of this call, I possibly should have said something. We're talking about 9/11 or whatever. A lot of times, and want to certainly give gratitude to those who really fought for our country and really kept us safe. And this would say that some gave some gave all at the end of the day. And we certainly are blessed in thinking of those today. But when I knew back in 2001 when this was going on and when it was happening, I used to look around and things be happening in foreign countries, and you see things getting blown up and things happening and people at war. And until that day on 9/11 back in, 2001 when this occurred, that you're sitting there and these things are happening in your country, and you look and you've kind of thrown it back, because you used to just going about your everyday life when you're watching TV and it's happening in these foreign countries. Now it's here. It's on our soil. It's on our front porch. Now we're dealing with it different, and we're watching the news. So that's kind of where this virus is. You don't have to wait until it's sitting in your living room. They're telling you and giving you everything right now of what's going on, the possibilities, and this thing is a moving target, and it's not just one thing, how it affects you and how you have to guard and be as safe as you possibly can. Don't be an example. Learn from others' mistakes or whatever, and have an opportunity to move forward. So that's just a message that we try to hit home all the time, and we're hopeful that it resonates with our guys.
And Coach, seeing all social justice unrest in the country with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and Rayshard Brooks right here in my backyard here in Atlanta. How have you tried to tell your young men about, hey, we have to really be vigilant and careful. This is the reality we're living in right now, and we have to carry ourselves with class dignity, because when we take off our TSU gear, we're just a young black man in America. Same with you and myself. I tell about my radio gear, or you took off your coaching gear. We're just two black men in America. So we have to really move with a different level of clarity and integrity, because even if you do everything right, you still can end up with a negative outcome. So how have you used this time to teach your young men on Zoom about what is in front of them as young black men in America right now?
I'd say it's been extremely tough, because it was almost like each month or every other week or something that was happening along those lines. And we've seen it before, and it's been happening obviously in this country, but things were happening so rapid at one point, and then it was really difficult for me, one, not having, generally you're able to go into a meeting room the next day and you see your players and you're around them and you can have these discussions and you talk. Now you're not around them. These guys are at their own apartments or homes or out of state or wherever, and then we're trying to get on a Zoom call to check and see, one, their welfare, their well-being, how they're doing, how they're coping with things, what are they feeling at this time. Because although they're on a basketball team, they obviously have a network of people, other folks that are out there that they're dealing with. So you really want to find out the temperature, what's happening with them. And at the same time, going through the protests and everything else, who's out there marching, and one, you're worried about the virus with the march and everything going on. And at the same time, how are people responding to those marches, being that they're peaceful and everything else, and just trying to make sure that these guys understood, obviously, what was in front of them. I wanted to know what their feelings were. I wanted to tell them what my feelings were. How I was feeling, that it wasn't okay. That there was obviously some, it's okay to be uncomfortable in this situation and to be feeling a certain way, but it's really important on how we deal with it. And I wanted to hear how they were feeling, and see if we could talk through whatever was going on. And shucks, I needed them to talk to me as well, because it was obviously, and it still is, extremely difficult, and it's day to day, and obviously it's still a moving target, but want to make sure that these guys can remain focused, positive, and encouraged that not all people are bad people at the end of the day, and not all cops are bad cops. But these are the ways that you have to deal with certain situations that you're faced with, and don't put yourself in a situation, unfortunately, and this is how you have to react to certain things. If you're pulled over, if you happen to be in a store, if somebody comes up to you or whatever, this is the way that you got to react, because at the end of the day, we need you to get home. We need you to get back to campus. We need you to get back to the locker room at the end of the day. And if you can bring it to us, then we may be able to address it on a bigger level, a bigger stage a day later or whatever it is. But don't sit there and try to handle everything by yourself in being negative and responding in a negative way to allow somebody to get in a situation where it's even more heated, and then try to justify certain situations that you may be in. But it's extremely tough, because they all are, older black young men, and, from 17 to 22, 23-year-olds, and in the prime of their life. And all of them come from different stages of backgrounds at the end of the day. But the good thing, most of our guys And pretty much all of our guys, their parents have done a tremendous job with him. And this is not something that we were waiting for. These are things that we talk about really all the time in terms of their growth and getting better, maturity level, having an opportunity to make an impact in your community, how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself in all certain situations. So we weren't just waiting for this, the unfortunate incidents that have occurred. We've addressed it, and I think our guys have done a decent job of dealing with it.
And, Coach, I know a lot of coaches have been trying to get their young men registered to vote here with the election coming up. And how are you all going about trying to teach young men about civic engagement? I feel like that's something that young men and young women don't know much about as they could, about how to get involved civically. That it matters locally, state, and federally. And we've seen with the pandemic, as I told you off the air, local elections matter, state elections matter, because those people are making decisions for you that affects you every day. The federal it affects you, but not like local and state does every day. So how you talk to young men about civic engagement, knowing what's going on out there, knowing initiatives, knowing the policies, knowing who the people are out there, so they can make their informed decision on who they want to vote for to help their community?
You know, the good thing for us, we try to do community service work and have our guys involved in a lot of different aspects, even during the season, or be it Thanksgiving or feeding the homeless, or you name it, or being able to give back in certain instances. But we've got to make sure in a more conscious and cognitive than ever before, getting our guys together, our whole team, and making sure that each guy on our team is registered to vote, and then get them to tell a friend, to get a friend to bring a friend to do the same thing, so they can maybe get out and vote and make an impact, because your vote makes a difference. Your voice obviously makes a difference. But sitting there, and then we've got to continue doing a better job of bringing people in from our community that can share and talk to these guys to help them in terms of their growth as well. But these guys, their voice count, and we've got to make sure that they understand how important this voting is, so that even when they leave us, that they have an opportunity to make an impact with their families when they start having their own kids and bringing their own kids in. And I remember when I was, my kids were younger, taking them in the voting booth with me, and so they could see me voting. And now I'm glad to say that now they come home with their own stickers on, because they have voted. So those things are big, and it's exciting, because I remember when I was young having a chance to watch, my parents do it. My mom took me with them to the polls. So, and this is probably one of the most important elections I know in my lifetime as well. And I think now these folks understand how much and important voting is and the impact that it plays. And we've got to make sure that the message get out and the boots are hitting the ground.
And, Coach, how important is it for your community being third ward of Houston out there, man? Houston down the street, Jack James High School right there. And how important being that community in your university, man, and seeing the debate come to Texas Southern University this year, and just shows put TSU out there on the main frame for everybody to see about the university you coach at. Is so great. So talk about seeing your young men, how they react to having that. I know they took over your gym for a few weeks there to get ready for it, but how was it seeing that right there in your campus right there in historic third ward of Houston right there?
I tell you, we managed during that time, because thanks to Jack Yates High School and the coaches there for allowing us to use their facilities, as well as going over to U of H. But there was a tremendous experience having a chance to have a debate here on campus where you had all these potential presidential candidates coming here. Yeah, it was a little bit inconvenient maybe for our players, but it was certainly a huge impact that across the nation, people were able to see the platform that they were on were right here in our arena, here at Texas Southern and in the Trey, which we call it in the third ward, have an opportunity to have all those people coming in here and being on that stage that can obviously have an impact of impacting our country for years to come. And I was fortunate enough to get there along with my wife, and several of our players had an opportunity to attend as well. And there's sometimes maybe once in a lifetime that you have an opportunity to experience that. And not only that, only months later, weeks later, maybe a month, Joe Biden came back around and came back to campus again and held somewhat of a rally after feeling like that he was obviously making some progress or whatever in the race. But Texas Southern is a special place. It sits in a special area. The people that live here have a great deal of pride in it, and they've done a tremendous job of continuing to try to build this community and back up in a great sense. And I guess he using slogan, I guess, from Joe Biden. They've done a great job trying to build it back better recently, because it's a tremendous area, and coming here and having an opportunity to see the growth in it. And people don't realize that University of Houston sits directly across the street from our campus in terms of our growth in where we sit here in Houston. But we're excited about it, and I thought it was a great historical moment having that type of event here on our campus.
And I know you have Lucifer, Louisiana, coach, and I know the Hurricanes came through there recently in Texas as well. So is all your family and friends okay from the hurricane that came through there a week or so ago? I know it was down on the Gulf, man. Y'all had enough problems with water and hurricanes. I just want to make sure, I know you had the roots down, make sure you and your family and your friends are okay from that hurricane that came through here recently here.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and thanks for asking. And my hometown is about 45 miles north of Lake Charles. That's where the hurricane came in to shore, right there around Cameron, Louisiana, and it came through Lake Charles and then made its way up north to my hometown. And there was a lot of damage, a lot of wreckage. We're very blessed and pleased that there were some lives lost. We're fortunate that the great Lord spared, obviously, our family during the midst of that terrible storm, and all of them are okay, but there's still a lot of damage in the areas, and power down, and lights down, and then some had to my sister, and they moved and went to a hotel, whatever, for a little bit. But I was fortunate enough that it didn't hit all of Louisiana. It went up through from Lake Charles north and headed up toward my hometown there, DeRidder, Louisiana. Yeah, but my cousin, Wayne Sims, his son, was unfortunately murdered a year or so ago, the LSU basketball player, Wade Sims. They have a foundation now, and he was my little cousin. So what they wind up doing was getting 2 huge U-Haul trucks, and his foundation wind up loading it up with a lot of materials and goods to pass out, and they drove the trucks down to DeRidder, parked them there in a shopping center parking lot, and I was able to meet them down there and distribute those goods and get those things out to the people there that were in need and that are suffering. And driving in there, me and my son, there were so many trees down and houses wiped out and so much devastation and everything going on that you really, really hurt for him. And so I could kind of reminisce, and not as bad as Katrina when I had a chance to go back through there after that devastation. But for that area in that quicker time, there was certainly a lot of devastation, and they're certainly going to be going through it for months and months to come. But they've got some resilient people down there that do a tremendous job of working extremely hard, that care about each other. So they've done a great job of rallying around each other to try to get through this as well.
And that's what I got for you, Coach. I know you guys in the SWAC conference, man. You know, you play those guarantee games, and if the date's November 25th, that can take out 2 weeks of money that you guys can raise. Because I know men's basketball, football, women's basketball are the money fundraising sports for universities, especially at the SWAC level and MEAC level. So, what's been the game plan? Trying to, if it's November 25th, if it's December the 4th, or whatever, how to make those games up? Would it be more trying to talk to maybe like a Houston or A&M or reach some regional teams that they want to play games, and you can raise money for the school? I guess you have to at the SWAC level there.
You're absolutely right. And at the present, if because there was no NCAA tournament last year, we were certainly a setback for the conference. And at the same time, it's been difficult. And if they certainly move those dates back, one of the areas in which we work and we look forward to is playing these non-conference games, the bye games, the money games, so to speak. That certainly helps our department, their team, and the program. And if you even move that back to November 25th, that's several $100,000 that we were missing in terms of those guaranteed games. So I've thrown out there, I'm fortunate to be on the NABC board of Congress there. And one of the things that I proposed the other day is if we can possibly play some scrimmage games versus Power 5 schools leading up to the season, which would help just recouping some of that money. No, you're probably not getting that big guarantee check that we usually get. But if we can just get on a bus and go drive somewhere regionally, that we can go down and back and not even worry about a hotel to play in some type of exhibition game, it would certainly be helpful to us. My hat's off to the ACC and the coaches that voted unanimously for all 346 teams that are eligible to play in the in-state tournament this year, that they were offering or hoping that they would put it in that type of field in the bracket. My hat's off to those guys, because I say that they showed that they care about other kids except just the ones on their team who've been missing out. And they care about other programs except the ones just in their conference because of the fact that they understand and they get a feel for it. So my hat's certainly off to those guys. But it's going to be extremely difficult. It's going to be tough. And it would be remarkable if it was able to work out to where they put those teams in, because that means everybody would get a nice little bit cut of that pie that will help each of their programs. And it's not as much of a setback as it initially would be. That would help a lot of the programs at the level, especially where we are.
Because, Coach, being a Tennessee State grad, I know how it works. I know what you guys are up against directly. So it's like, I have a soft spot for you guys in the SWAC and the MEAC, and being a Tennessee State University graduate, I know how that situation is very tenuous and how these bye games are so crucial to everybody eating, whether it be tennis or volleyball. Everybody eats off those bye games. So it's like, I hope to God and pray that you all can get this done, because I know how it can be a bad setback for everybody involved if that date sticks without any other way to recoup that money. It could be years before you get back on track, and it means layoffs and furloughs, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm hoping that we can come to a solution to get everybody even whole again in the midst of this pandemic.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it. I've been fortunate, I'm coaching basketball, college basketball at Division I level. And I've been at all those levels, being at from LSU to University of Memphis to North Texas and being here. So I get it. I understand of the type of money that have an opportunity to flow in different departments, programs, and at those universities. And that's why I say that I really tip my hat, to a Power 5 conference like the ACC, who jumped out there and said that they would like to see all the teams that are eligible benefit from this tournament, and especially these young men that had such a devastating deal that they had no control over a year ago, and then with this moving target that they're dealing with this year, because there's nothing to say that there won't be a flare-up and something should happen. So if they had to move this tournament up sooner than later and bracket everybody and let's get this tournament played now before we shut down again, that those opportunities would exist and present itself, out there for you. So, but the good thing is, just like everything else, the schools that you spoke of and being in those conferences from the SWAC to the MEAC or whatever, they're resilient. And we've got tremendous administrators and people that are running, from the presidents to the chancellors to the athletic directors, and those folks on their campus doing a tremendous job to hold things together, to allow not only our kids to continue to be educated academically and pushing toward their degrees, but these young kids and young men and ladies still have a tremendous experience while they're there, allowing their sports team to do what they've been able to do through the years as well.
Coach Jones, it's been a pleasure to talk to you again. I really enjoyed our conversation last time. I'm glad it's even better this time. So I hope to do this again with you real soon. I wish you the best of luck going forward, Coach. It's been a pleasure, man.
Well, I certainly appreciate you having me on. And as I told you before, Coach Peel is with me now. He's a tremendous fan of yours and speaks so highly of you. And I just want to thank you and for having me on your show and being here. And anytime you need me, please holler, let me know. And I look forward to the next time we have a chance to get together. And you stay safe and stay healthy, and go Tigers.
Yeah, Coach, you do the same. Yes, indeed. Go Tigers for sure, Coach. Thank you so much, Coach, for your time today.
Thanks, my man. Take care.